कश्मीर लाइफ के आज की शुमारी ड्रीम बिग में एक बार फिर से आप सबका इस्तकबाल है। आज हमारे साथ मौजूद है ताहा मुगल, जो कि एक आर्टिस्ट है, एक आर्किटेक्ट है और जिन्होंने अपनी इंटेलेक्ट और मेहनत से हाईली प्रेस्टिजियस स्कॉलरशिप हासिल करके वर्ल्ड लीडिंग यूनिवर्सिटीज में अपनी जगह बनाई। And in fact, he has estimated to won over 2 crore INR worth overseas scholarship within a short span of 2 years. So today we will be in conversation with him and we will get to know about how did he manage to achieve all of his attainments. सबसे पहले तो ताहा, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ma'am. It's such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. First of all, Taha, हमें आप अपने बारे में कुछ बताइए. And in a gist, give us an overview of your educational background and career so far.
Mama, I'm a native of Srinagar city in Kashmir. I've done my earlier schooling from Minto Circle School. Later, I joined Delhi Bisco School as a high in my high school. After Bisco, I joined Sri Mata Vaishno Devi University, where I completed my bachelor's in architecture in India 2015, I guess. After that, I did my MPhil in heritage studies at University of Cambridge in UK. Following which, I did my Master's of Science in Design at University of Pennsylvania in the US. So yeah, that's my brief trajectory so far.
Like we know, you possess skills as an artist and an architect, and you also have a background in literature. So could you, in a nutshell, discuss or describe how you have handled these diverse and creative, subject matters and schools?
That's such an interesting question, Umaima. I think for any creative practitioner, you do understand that one field of creativity isn't quite different and distinct from the other things that you practice. I think for me, the practice as an artist really informs what I intend or at least attempt to do in architecture, if at all. And simultaneously, my practice as a creative fiction writer does give me insights into sociology, does give me insights into how people think, how people act. And once you understand how people act, you get to understand what people dream. And only when you understand what people dream will you be able to translate it through either a painting or an architecture. So answering your question, I don't really feel these were quite distinct fields that I had to manage and balance. I think it was super complementary, as is true for any creative practitioner. What you learn in one dimension, you sort of translate and implement it in the other dimension. So it kind of works like a giant machine.
As we are aware, you obtained your MPhil in Heritage Studies at the University of Cambridge, UK, and you were the inaugural Kashmiri admitted to your program at the University of Cambridge. So could you provide us some information on how you achieved this? Any insights, key insights, or and what were the major takeaways from your MPhil?
My MPhil really focused on how architecture exists in the greater realm of memory and emotions. And the MPhil really focused on how a building, for example, the building that we as humans inhabit, how does that building function in the larger framework of memory and emotions? So it was basically about that. My overall takeaway from education and experience at Cambridge was extremely different from what I had earlier seen in the East. What I found at Cambridge was you really were never alone in your studies. You were never spoon-fed, as in the East. You always had to do on your own. You were at the forefront of whatever you want to do. But at the same time, I felt it was an immense, intense, and extremely supportive support system for any student there. For me, for example, when I entered Cambridge, um, at any point of time, I had around 9 or 10 people, and I'm not exaggerating it. 9 or 10 people, out of which 6 were directly responsible for working with me. It meant academic supervisor, it meant director of my program, it meant director of my college, for example, it meant my tutor, my pastoral support, my mental health support, my supervisor from the college. So I don't want to go into all of those details, but my simple point is you were never alone there as a student. You had an immensely strong network system. And answering the second part of your question, how do you get there? I think it really doesn't matter. These universities are not as inaccessible as we think they are. I think a bit of strategy, a bit of research, a bit of time investment before you go into applying should be enough to get anyone in there. I mean, I was lucky to get in there, and I'm sure it doesn't take a super smart person to get in there. It's just a bit of, oh, what do you want to do and how do you want to do it? Small questions, just probably take some time in researching, and it should be fine. I think so.
We are discussing about your high level of self education and scholarship, but apart from that, you were bestowed with globally recognized Chevening and Commonwealth scholarships, and but subsequently you pursued the Charles Wallace scholarship. So my question to you is, how did you successfully secure these prestigious global scholarships? And was it a challenging task of you choosing between them? And what led you to your decision of dropping the Commonwealth and the Chevening and then opting for Charles Wallace?
I think I was one of those extremely lucky people who really did manage, by the grace of Allah, to get a couple of options for the funding. As regards Commonwealth, I think it was a COVID time. So when Commonwealth people, when someone from the HRD called me and he said, "Hey, could you get us a revised offer letter from your Cambridge because the offer was for 2021."
Mm.
Um, so they gave me a time slot of 7 days. They said, "Get a revised offer letter for the next year because Commonwealth happens 1 year prior." That was an easy decision because Cambridge couldn't provide me a revised offer letter within that really short span of time. So I had to tell them I won't be able to get a revised offer within 2, 3 days slot. It'll take at least 15 days. That didn't happen. So leaving Commonwealth was extremely easy at that point. Then later I was left with Shivling and Charles Wallace. Both of them are extremely prestigious scholarships, as I'm sure you know. Uh, it was easy for me to pick Charles Wallace because it was a subject specific scholarship uh, given to artists in the country. I think around 5 scholarships are given every year. For me, that was more important because it was subject specific. So it was not just about funding, but also funding through a recognized source, which recognizes your contribution to your subject. So in addition to money, it was more of a recognition in the field that I was working in. I think that sort of helped me prioritize Charles Wallace, although Chevening is it's a much promoted and global brand. And as regards the second part of your question, how did I manage to get these scholarships? Again, I mean, probably a bit of labor, probably a bit of hard work, not into just writing the application, but also preparing it. So most of the people, when they apply, they think that a good essay will get them in, a good application, very well written, articulate, will get them in. But it's not just about how well you articulate your applications, scholarship applications, but also about what's the content in there. So if you can support your application, as happened in my case, with, for example, 5 years of work that I had put in after my graduation, those 5 years of put in work connected together through a thread helped me defend my candidature. And if you can do that, then I think they should be pretty easy for. I don't want to make it extremely simple, but I also don't want don't want to sound that these scholarships are inaccessible. Just a bit of labor, 2, 3 years of labor, articulate it, write it well. I think we can manage to get it. Yeah.
After completing your MPhil, you once again became, first Kashmiri to enter the MBA program at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. It is intriguing that you opted for another university, which is the University of Pennsylvania. Can you enlighten us on the reasons behind this choice?
Thank you for bringing that out. Actually, it was a very, very tough decision, to be very honest with you. I mean, of course, Harvard was again a better promoted brand than this Ivy League University of Pennsylvania. But I guess in my case, because I had already done my MPhil, which was academic oriented, and I'd basically read the philosophy of art and conservation and all of that stuff already. What Harvard offered me at that point of time, although I really wanted it, was more or less another academic course where I would have delved deeper into the narratives of how again architecture functions in the realm of at Harvard what I was being offered was again a continuity of the academic philosophy that I more or less had sort of touched upon at Cambridge. Alternatively, UPenn offered me a better technical course, which focused more on materiality, design aspects, design for belonging, design for social justice. So it was very interesting to see whatever at a more philosophical level I learned at Cambridge was being translated through design intervention. So it sort of balanced my academic journey and technical expertise. So I switched out to UPenn's course, and Harvard is in the pipeline. Not that I've completely taken it out of my mind. I'll see if I would like to pick that thread up again very soon. Inshallah.
Are you into something right now? Is there any project that you're like kind of working on, or like is your association with Harvard concluded?
Well, I wasn't associated with Harvard. I just applied to Harvard, and they were very kind enough to offer me a place. What I'm saying is that I might pick that up again. Like I might join that course. I might resend them an email or something. As regards my current work, yes, I'm currently working on a research project on the architectural documentation that's funded by Baraka Trust UK and Islamic University of Science and Technology. It's a collaborative project. So that's one thing that I'm currently working on. Outside of that, I've been very lucky to get this another contract, which is a translation project again. I do translations, by the way, sometimes. So I'm currently researching some Kashmiri literature for the next upcoming translation project. So these are two things that I'm currently working
Um, I guess your dedication is quite evident by the projects and the work that you've done. Thank you
on.
for
Thank
sharing.
you.
So you
Thank
also
you.
secured the prestigious Fulbright scholarship, considered the world's leading scholarship right now, along with an additional scholarship from University of Pennsylvania. So could you elaborate on how these opportunities unfolded for you, and what significance did both hold?
I would like to answer the significance part of it. I am from a middle class family, Umema, probably like most of Kashmiris. Thinking about these colleges without funding was an absolute impossible situation. That is the significance. I would I would not be formally educated ever if it was not for these funding opportunities. So the significance is tremendous. I mean, it's basically a doorway to a world of possibilities. And how did these opportunities unfold? I think I was very lucky. In fact, I should make a mention of my friend and colleague Umar. He's also a Fulbright scholar, by the way. He was the first person to tell me that there's something like Fulbright that you should really think about and apply. I find this mention incredibly important because as Kashmiri community, even the diaspora people who live outside, I find it's incredibly important to share information. So when you ask how did the opportunity unfold, I think it unfolded because someone decided to share it with me. There are a lot of people out there who are brilliant, who are just tremendously hardworking, brilliant, but they don't know what to do and how to do. So in my case, I was extremely fortunate that my friend and colleague shared it with me. I try to share it with people, and people who know, please share it with each other because that's the only way forward, and that's the only way that we can proceed ahead. Yeah. As regards my UPenn scholarship, I think uh, so. When you get Fulbright, they appoint an officer for you, and that officer is responsible to negotiate with your university for trying and securing more funding. In my case, USIEF and IIE, which are like the bodies associated with Fulbright, they were really helpful in helping me get an additional 20,000 a dollars scholarship, internal funding for my course at UPenn. Without both of these fundings, I wouldn't have been anywhere, and we couldn't have been on this interview. Yeah.
That's so good. Talking about your translation work, recently you also authored a thorough translation on the history and culture of Bhaderwa, which earned you the
Mhm.
Dara Shikoh Scholars Award in 2019. And my question is, to what extent would you say this publication influenced your scholarships and admission?
I'm so glad you brought this up again. I think definitely a lot, although the translation is not good at all. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a perfect work. No translation is ever perfect. I would really like to redo it, by the way. But the publication was incredibly important. It helps you justify your candidature and your kind of scholarly or research inclinations. So the first admission that I got at Cambridge, I think a large portion of it happened because of the translation work. It's a voluminous thing. But yeah, not just a translation, anyone who is trying to apply, any publications, any writing, any piece of things that you're doing, writing is super important, by the way, no matter what field you are in. I should stress this point. And no matter whether it's published or unpublished, you should know writing. If it's published, if it's in the process of publishing, as happened in my case, it's incredibly important to justify your candidature. And for those who might not know, when you apply, you need to send your writing samples. In my case, I tried to send a piece of translation work, which I hadn't authored, but yeah, it really helped.
Concluding this session, is there any advice or do you have any final thoughts to people out there?
Please dream big, as the as the program name is. It's a wonderful initiative by Kashmir Life. I really want to thank all the team. You guys don't know what incredible work you're doing. And for the students out there or the general audience who are inclined towards academia, please dream big. Do not believe in the fact that these places, these scholarships are inaccessible. They're not. Please don't. I mean, we have a tendency of thinking we can't reach. Uh, it's just that we don't know how to reach. Please reach out to people, and I'm sure Kashmiri community who are already in these universities, most of them would be really open to help. Please ask questions and start your journey. Don't be a passive audience and consumer of this show. Please go and reach out to people. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Taha, for joining this session. Thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you all the best ahead. All the best. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Umaima, for having me. Such a pleasure talking to you.